tracks are areas that were not calculated into the size of our interceptors. Doesn't mean you couldn't serve them if you were not serving another area, but that's the way they were designed, was to serve the capacity for what's mapped to remain in the 50,000 square feet. You know, you increase those lot sizes, you make it all the more difficult to ever serve those areas, just that much more expensive because your cost per home goes up that much more, because instead of serving 20 homes, you're only serving 16 maybe. So now you're dividing that cost. So anytime you change that lot size in an area that could be served, you're also looking at that. So I guess we'd like to see some consideration for that before we direct Public Works and Utility to look at something that they really, it's going to be difficult to determine who is theoretically, you know, truly going to be served and who's not.
Or who could be served.
Well, we know who could be served. That's what I'm trying to say. We could serve anybody south of Anston Road based on the capacity of the Belmont Interceptor. There could be an awful expense to get some of it up there, but that's not what the, you know, they're not challenged with paying for that. They can make a recommendation, but it's ultimately up to the village board whether they want to go through the special assessments and such to serve through a substantial area that's already developed as rural residential. And that's where it becomes difficult for them to determine what your potential growth ring should be. And it's not going to be part of the future comp plan as a growth ring, but just stuff to consider. But planning and zoning did want you to consider directing them to take a closer look at that. I'm just not, we just want to put everything out there before we send a task to another committee that really has no clue what we're looking for or ability to provide the answers to that. Thank you.
I would be in favor this year having a joint review. So a couple members of Public Works, Planning and Zoning, all of us get in a room and have a conversation about what does this next comprehensive plan look like and how do we set the groundwork for it. And one of those big areas, like we talked about planning and zoning, is actually where are we going to stop sewer and water in the near to long-term future? You know, are we really going to push it down County M, you know, into the western part of our community that's designated as sewer and water right now? Because if we're not, that's going to affect the way that we do lot design, or the way we figure out that part of the equation when it comes to the comprehensive plan. So we, and when I say we, I'm using that as collectively, need to get together with both committees, maybe a couple people, maybe Alex, you set up that meeting, that we all sit in a room, so then when Public Works gets that information back, those 2 or 3 individuals can have a good conversation saying, hey, this is what the vision is and this is why they're asking it.
There's no real good conversation, because if you are on water and sewer, you're paying for that infrastructure that's never going to get fully used. So there's always going to be that unfairness to the people on the utilities because of that. So there's...
You're going to get a straight answer, because the cost associated with moving out to the western part of the state, that, you know, the sins, I don't want to say sins of the past, the vision of the past boards and the vision of past individuals cannot direct what we do in the future. And the cost to be able to push it to the western part of our village is not feasible. The cost to the village, the cost to the residents in that area, and to be frank, the cost of the current customers on water and sewer, because they would have an impact as a result. And the conversation that we just had about impact fees would have an impact. So it's essential that we have this conversation collectively, and before we get into this next comprehensive plan, to make sure that we do it right. and that we have a clear vision for the future based on real and precise data that's current, not from 2005.
Because of the past, there is no right way.
Yeah, there is only trying to do it better. I don't think there is a right way, I agree.
So ultimately, though, just so you know, the water and sewer customers are going to lose out, as they always do. We're kind of the second-class citizens here.
Oh, come on.
So I think any kind of a good discussion like that is healthy when we get together with the two committees and share those ideas. It'd be one I would enjoy to be present at as well, not as an active committee member, because I'm not, but learn a little bit more about the clear, you have a very clear opinion on this, and it's built from something. I'd like to have a better understanding of it, so I think that'd be a good thing.
Could we set up a one-time meeting, just with Public Works and maybe with a representative from maybe two, I don't want to be a representative, I want to sit and listen?
I want to sit and listen. I don't want to be, because I'm going to have conversation up here.
Well, should we invite anybody who wants from Public Works and the Planning and Zoning Commission and have, kind of like the school district has every year they have a
Yes.
session where they bring in other groups and they just have a broad discussion. There's no action taken. And maybe this is a normal village board agenda item and you can just talk about it. There's no action that needs to be taken, but anybody from Planning and Zoning and anybody from Public Works can come and be a part of that discussion. Maybe that makes more sense than trying to have bits and pieces, but then everybody watches. Why not just make it a village board meeting agenda item?
And I'm good with that if we do it like after our budget is done for this next year, so, November timeframe. I don't mind pushing it out to October, November. I mean, this needs to be done now, but that conversation before we send it over to Public Health and Safety, we all need to get in the room and have a conversation. I think that's a great idea.
Then we all hear it also,
Right.
not just two people on a committee and
Yes.
referring it back. We all hear the same thing.
Right. But I'd love to set up that meeting a little differently. Because it being a village board meeting, we're governed by certain rules of that meeting. And it would be
Public
easier
hearing?
if they actually set it up like they do at the school district, where we're just in a big round circle in here having a conversation as individuals and not board members. I think that would be a better scenario. So can we do that within a board meeting?
Yeah, there's no reason why you can't.
Or just set it up as a separate meeting, as a collaborative, something?
Yeah, we can figure out, but
I
yeah.
mean, it's just like our all-day budget meeting. It's a little more informal, but it's still a proper meeting.
Just like that.
Yeah,
It's just-
something like that.
Reserve and set it up for an hour to start with and see where it goes. I mean, we've talked about this issue, this is a huge issue, and Trustee Eckert, you're right, it's been an issue forever, it's been an issue since I moved here in 1999.
There's no way to fix it.
There is no way to fix it, but, there's also really no good way to continue to accept it either, because it continues to be a big issue. So somehow, maybe we need to start, what's the expression, peeling back the onion, or peeling back the pieces to see if we can find some sort of consensus or some sort of way to at least make it better. Not fix it, but make it better somehow.
You're here.
Absolutely.
So I'll look to set something up in November or December, but can someone from the board clarify exactly, like, what's the question that's being posed so that these other committee members can come prepared to discuss?
I think the first question is, if I'm in President Van Rossum and I sit on that committee, is understanding where those clear lines are of where sewer and water is gonna end. So the areas that are outlined in the 2005 map are not really representative of the story today. It may have been the vision of 2005, but not 18 years later, it's not the same vision, because it's not feasibly possible to run water and sewer out into those areas. I mean, we could, it would be millions and millions of dollars, and for what? And to gain what? And so, I think that's the question, is, am I hearing that correctly?
I agree.
Where is those lines defined? Define the water and sewer areas of Suamico. That is really the question, is pose to the public and health?
Both from a
Sorry, not public
capacity,
health, Public Works.
from a capacity standpoint and from a practicality
Yes, I
standpoint.
think from all sides, right? I think
Well, we
need-
know from the capacity standpoint
What the interceptors can handle.
But it would be nice to have all that information in one area, so as we go through that comprehensive plan,
So-
that we all have that information.
And the other piece is, what's the plan for those in the water and sewer districts currently, right? So we know that the current resources are underutilized, which causes an excessive cost, and that's going to continue. So what's part of the plan? How can we address that? How can we cumulatively come together and somehow begin to address that? And part of that is looking at capacity. Part of that is looking at where do we see sewer and water, becoming available? And you know what? That's given folks, citizens in the community, the heads up, right? Everybody wants to know. Nobody wants to build their house, put in a well and a septic system, and then have it replaced for an outside faucet that.
This goes back past,
I
I
know.
think even past Mary Steffen's days living out there. That was part of the reason why she got on the board.
Yep.
Was because they were talking about water and sewer coming out in the western part of the village.
It's why I moved from Wildwood. It's why I moved out to the very edge of this community from where I lived, right
Well,
behind
that
Wild
doesn't
Park.
help the people that are on it now, and nor do I see this conversation helping it, because there's no intention to move it out. The people on it now are the ones paying for that infrastructure, and they're going to continue to.
How do we know that what the intentions are when we haven't had the meeting? When we haven't had a discussion? So is the other option not to have any discussion and we just live with the status
We
quo
can
as it is?
discuss it.
Well, I mean, or,
We should discuss it.
As a fellow
let's
sewer
get a,
person, I understand, that, and agree with trustee Eckert that sometimes those on sewer constitute a very small percentage of our residents. And I would welcome the meeting so we can get a better understanding and try and figure out a way to make it better, because right now it's, I don't think it's really working.
Well, I don't think part of that conversation can have New Water with it, because they're a considerable part of the issue. And that's outside of our authority, other than complaining. But you're right, I think we have to do better. How do we do better in that area? We have a conversation to start it. And then from there, you know what? That may give Public Works 3 assignments. Sorry, Andy, but, you may get some additional assignments going, okay, how can we make the water and sewer area better? How can we improve an interceptor? How can we change something to make it better, so it's not so impactful to the residents?
But if you do change it, it's going to be impactful. I mean, the way to change it is to expand it. You had the opportunity when we did Birch Road to go up Popplewood Court, Dogwood Court, Gabberfield Court. We didn't do it. We had the opportunity to go down Somerset Circle when we rebuilt Somerset. They didn't do it. When we had the opportunity, we could have went up Babry's Court the one direction and included that when we did the Riverside project. We keep leaving small blocks open from our water end of it because we don't want to impact additional residents. We had the opportunity when the stuff on Coach and Ives expanded into rural residential. It came off of the dead end of sewer. It could have easily have been sewered.
It's on the board, it's not on the committee,
That's what's
and we didn't.
hampered future expansion
Yeah.
of this. And now you've got,
But
A
what I'm
large-
saying, Steve, all of that happened before any of us sat on.
No. No,
What
yes,
part am I missing?
quite a few of them. Well, you said there was a,
Summerfield Court, the
Somerset was
Birch
before
Road,
us, but-
Babry's, some of you must have been on for some of that.
No, but there was some Ives
No?
and Coach.
Well, that was, but then you were gonna impact
Some of those.
35 homes to get 6 more lots.
Yeah.
That's where the problem
that's
comes.
the only one I remember.
That's the only one that we've been involved in.
Yes.
President
That's-
Van Rosen, is there a question on the floor?
Yes, there's a motion. We
There's not a-
would be looking for.
Motion, but.
But there isn't a
Direction.
question on the floor. We're just in the discussion phase? Is there additional discussion on this? Otherwise, we would look for a motion. We would need a motion, from what I heard in this, is there was interest in a joint meeting between Planning and Zoning and Public Works to discuss capacity, future expansion, utilization of resources that would lead to lower costs for sewer and water utility participants. So is there a motion to,
And define a map. So I don't think there needs to be a motion, you get directive.
Yeah.
I would like a motion on this, I'm sorry, because I'd like a motion, I'd like a roll call on this.
Okay.
This is a critical issue. And I know that for many folks who are going to listen to this, and for the folks who are nice enough to be here, that this has probably gone on way, way, way too long, but have been on this board for a long time, and this has gone on way, way too long. So we need to start taking make some action, driving this forward to talk about it, get it closer, something. Start moving the ball instead of just ignoring it.
So I'll make a motion to direct staff to set up a meeting in October, November, December, in that time frame, as they see fit, to have a conversation about our comprehensive, our map, future expansion, utilization of
Resources for lower costs.
lower costs, and all of the above conversation discussed this evening,
Thank you. There's a very
because there's a lot there.
There's a lot there. Motion on the floor from trustee Rodden, then to convene a meeting of Planning and Zoning and Public Works to discuss capacity, future expansion, utilization of resources for lower cost, and definition of the sewer and water area. Did I capture it all? And I have a second from trustee Schneider. Anything else?
Was the desire to have that during a standard board meeting?
Or however they
Team.
Or
deem appropriate.
could we perhaps maybe have a 5:30 start?
Yes.
There you go.
Ideally,
yes.
yes.
Thank
Or
you.
a 5 o'clock start on that, because there's gonna be, it's not gonna be an hour conversation.
Madam Clerk, keeping with the theme this evening, could we have a roll call on this as well?
Trustee Eckert.
Aye.
Trustee Neto. Trustee Rodden.
Aye.
Trustee Gomez.
Aye.
Trustee Schneider.
All right.
Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
President Van Rossum.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right. We're on to item 11 this evening, Public Works and Utility Items, Ordinance 2023-09, amending Chapter 6 Driveway Code Amendment. Director Smits, if you would, this is a first reading.
Yep, this is the grand finale. All right, the village's current municipal code for driveways in chapter 6 requires residential driveways to be no less than 12 feet and no greater than 24 feet. We were asked to review this by a few residents that were building new homes here. So we took it to the Public Works and Utility Commission a couple of meetings ago and reviewed it at 2 different meetings. Kind of the question that was raised is, with the trend of new homes, the garage spaces are increasing, so now it's not uncommon to have a 3-stall attached garage, and also a double garage door is kind of becoming a trend where you have 2 double doors on your home. And if you are to build at the minimum setback of 35 feet, that angle to get into that 4th stall on your attached garage can be a little bit tight, and it's been brought up if there's any help or if we could modify this. So other communities did increase the width of their allowable widths, either at the right-of-way or at the, over the top of the culvert pipe, because we do have quite a bit of urban and rural in our village. So we took a look at it, and it does make sense. It is tight to get into that, even that 3rd stall, depending on the home design and where it's positioned on the lot, but definitely into a 4th stall on an attached garage. The Public Works and Utility Commission recommended allowing up to a 32-foot wide driveway opening at the right-of-way. It's 8 feet wider than where we were at. And we kind of looked at what does that mean to a road project? What does that mean when we're reconstructing? Because now instead of 24 feet, you got that additional width in your driveway. We did allow concrete last year, I think it was, in our driveway. So there's a little bit of complexity to that. So that's where the committee recommended a $50 fee additional to your driveway permit if you request the between 24 and 32 feet. That $50 is intended to cover that if the village comes through and resurfaces your road, it covers the about $50 worth of additional asphalt that we would have to remove and replace on that additional footage over and above what our current code is. The committee was, just, you preferred that we weren't increasing our cost to our road project each year by doing this, and this is a way to kind of offset that, so that $50 up front assumes that you'll cover the next time that your road is repaved, if you have a 32-foot wide driveway.
And that was that was a Matt Athey thing, and I think that was awesome that he was real budget conscious like that, because we need our road money, and that was a real good call on his part.
Yep, so we figured it out at 8 feet of extra width, that's about a half a ton of asphalt. This year we paid $80 a ton for asphalt, so we just rounded up to $50 additional for your driveway permit. So yeah, with the additional $50 to the driveway permit, we would look to change the code to allow your driveway to not be less than 12 and no greater than 32 feet. And tonight is the first reading only, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
When you have a U-shaped driveway, does it have to be the minimum of 12 and 32 as well, or does that vary?
For both of them, right?
Yeah,
You can have it for both of them, if you're wide enough that you can have the two driveways.
that's all I had.
Any other further comments?
Makes sense. The finale wasn't that great.
Sorry, I disappointed again.
I wasn't-
Story of my life.
Well, it's not necessarily the finale. We still have discussion on future agenda items. Anyone with future
Yeah.
agenda items?
Can we get somewhere on our agenda, circle back on that house on J? Because right now, I don't know if anything's happened with it. I don't know what the status of it is.
I talked to Elijah last week,
Yeah.
and he said something about it, so
They
Elijah,
called him.
he's aware, Benke, and he's aware, and
Yeah, so Neil did stop, I gave him Elijah's number. Public Works is not doing a damn thing. They don't wanna do a damn thing.
Public,
Or
Brown County.
Brown County.
Yeah.
They don't wanna do nothing. Paul is very firm on everything. When I did talk to Neil, they were waiting on their attorney. Now, that would have been putting something off the road right away, the rocks. But once you do that, then that goes on your homeowners, and you're responsible if somebody gets hurt.
Right, and that, I talked to Paul. I understood his point of view. You know, this is one of those situations that there's not a right answer, and there's a lot of liability. And how do you address it?
Is there something actually to put on a future agenda item for us to discuss on this? It sounds like, I don't know,
Well, we may have just covered it in this meeting.
We just covered
Yeah.
it.
okay.
Because there was one item,
So we can't go much
Talk to
further
him
with it
about the
because it's not on the agenda.
yeah. Yeah, maybe it would be, because the only other item that's left out there, I think, was the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign and its location. I don't know if you had reached out.
I did forward that on to him.
Okay. Is it, that 25-mile-an-hour, it's interesting, as you come up to the curve, there's a warning sign that says slow down to 25, but just as you're entering the curve, the speed limit drops to 25. So if you take that, I would encourage all of you to take that drive, doing 35 miles an hour, and slow down to 25 right
do a
there.
lot.
Feel how that is.
we all hit Neil's.
Well, you'll understand. I mean, you'll understand how that momentum shifts you over. So,
Okay. Are there other items for discussion, future agenda items?
So this isn't it will become a future agenda item, I think. So Nick is working with a guy by the name of Mike Collins. He's actually created that building just off of the trap shooting facility on Lineville and Howard. It looks like a big pole shed outside of their entrance. It's a baseball clinic and club. He's looking at bringing an actual club, another baseball club, to Suamico area. So I encouraged him when I talked to him on Friday to bring it, present in front of the board, you know, as just an open appearance, public comment. And then, you know, obviously Nick has been working with him. I think Alex has talked to him about a couple different items as well. So that's actually kind of exciting. We talk about Calavera master plan, and he wants to expand those baseball diamonds. And he has some money to be able to help. So, that's kind of exciting, I guess. So it's on him to come before and talk to us. But I know Nick has been working with him, trying to get, practice time
Okay.
on our fields. This is a follow-up item, and it doesn't need to be an agenda board item. Just that, canine rescue that took over the Sheedy's farm. Just an update from Pisani or somebody on that. It sounds like a lot of the neighbors that I spoke with over the weekend are not excited about all of the barking going on over there. I don't directly hear it, but a lot of the neighbors are quite concerned about what's going on over there.
Has anyone called
I know
animal
that there has
control?
been a couple calls already, and that's kind of what I want clarification
Okay.
on. So it can be online, offline, I don't matter, you know, just follow up on that.
Okay. And I'm sorry, are we putting County J on? Okay.
Anything else?
Laura Nelson texted me the other day about, I guess they were in Pennsylvania and they saw something, I don't know which way we want to go with this, but she said something about they had banners of current service members, or I'll have to, I don't do anything yet about this, but I want to maybe have her give me an example or a picture of what she was talking about that we could look into. I don't know.
I actually, in Pennsylvania,
Oh.
I started one of those. I have all the material for it.
Oh, really? Okay,
But the problem is we don't own any lampposts.
okay,
So that'd be the
Okay.
biggest hurdle for us is in Pennsylvania, the utility or the municipality owned the majority of the power poles. So we could
Okay.
put the banners on them,
she
but I
asked
know
me to
exactly what
check
you're
into
talking
it,
about.
so, okay, good. Well,
Okay.
so nothing we could do.
I don't see us owning enough poles to do that.
There's a lot of programs like that, though, because I travel a lot, and I see that, you know, in communities that don't necessarily have poles, they will have signs in front of City Hall that have pictures of each of the individuals who are current service members. You know,
I can send the program to the board in an
Send it
email
to,
just to
send it to
see.
trustee Eckert, have
what it
her
looked
look
like.
at it first,
Sure.
and if you think it's of value, then bring it to the board.
Actually, I'd like to see it.
Sure. Yeah.
Send it to everybody on the board then. Very good. Anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Yes.
We have a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting by trustee Rodden and a second by trustee Schneider. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. You guys deserve